how I trade the open. It's a pretty easy fucking class. The main thing that you guys will always hear me say, like, keeping it simple with your strategy is always going to be best. And once you hone in on a strategy, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of mentality, right? So I've been trading using orbs for a long time now. I've found a lot of success in it. I'm going to show you guys how to do it and then how to use a little bit of confluence, pivot points, some VPVR, peaks and troughs, and using your extensions, which is going to be the main thing with this, to actually gauge your PTs, your SLs, so on and so forth. That way, the play in conjunction can work all together with all of that. Before we start, is there any questions at all? Or if you guys have to talk about a trade, do so now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, screw you all. Let me get some water. Okay, so all orbs is, or what it stands for, is opening range breakouts. All right, guys, opening range break. So what we're looking for is what our session is currently giving to us, and what's typically used by the masses for orbs is going to be your 15-minute. Okay, you'll get the most amount of information within those first 15 to 30 minutes of market open, always. Right, you're going to get the influx of the volatility. You're going to get that rush of volume flooding in, especially since like it's the open of the market. Everyone has to buy and sell, and if they're holding swingers or whatever the case may be, that's where the bulk of the volume is. And then also at the end of day, right? So that's why you guys will always notice I only trade the open. You guys will see me trade for 30 minutes sometimes, and I'm in and out. I'll trade for 15 minutes sometimes. I'm like, all right, bye guys. I made my money for today, right? And again, this kind of goes with last class, is always follow your trade plan. If you basically set yourself up and say like, I'm only allowed 2 trades per day, stick to that, right? Okay, so how do we set up an orb? What does that look like? So on and so forth. I'm going to do it without the indicators. There's a lot of indicators nowadays that will literally just throw it and blast it on for you as the chart develops, right? The easiest way that I do it is literally just grabbing the peak of your 15-minute, grabbing the bottom of your 15-minute, and then marking those out, right? So yeah, that's fine. I'll delete this whole chart. So I'm going to use a horizontal raise, right? Short form Alt-J. And then I'm going to put my orb 15 low, grab the upper of that candle, orb 15 upper, right? So here I've established what my levels are in terms of my high and low for this session for today's orb. It can be done on shorter time frames. So if you see me take quick trades and wondering what the hell is he basing it off of, it's probably an orb on a smaller time frame. Sometimes I've gone as small as a 3-minute, and if there's enough velocity and momentum to that bias side, then I'm going to take it, especially if I was holding a bias in pre-market based off of pre-market analysis, right? So a lot of you guys have been in here with me now for pre-market analysis. I know I did it for my students yesterday, how we actually did sector and industry analysis for using that as confluence with our pre-market, using the morning call, gaps, ups and downs for your gainers and decliners, and then looking at the top trending news and obviously our economics for that given day or week and how that's going to impact it, right? So if I'm holding a bias such as yesterday, right, where we saw those nice huge gains, these actually ran 800%. I sold out at 300%. I went to go enjoy the rest of my day. However, look at the open. The open was actually telling us like, hey, we're bullish. Why is ace bearish? That's exactly why. We were already holding a bias, and then we were adding into position as that move was developing, opposed from getting into the move when it happened. So there's multiple ways and multiple strategies. You just kind of have to figure out what works for you. My biggest thing for myself is making sure I'm in the play. That way I don't miss it. However, a lot of people who don't have the capital to do such, you want to make sure that you can get in when that play is absolutely confirmed and you have the highest peak of conviction, right? because you don't want to just jump into a play just because. You want to make sure like, hey, this abides by all my rules for entering into a trade, and that's what I'm going to enter, as opposed to saying I can throw in a few dollars until I get my move. Right? Huge difference over there. So here's our 15 minutes for today's session. How did we play today's session? If you guys were in VC today, we secured 100% on some SPY calls. Andres was stuck in the trading VC because he's not a hero, but we allowed him up here for today. Just because we have DJ and we have Lear. We got a lot of special people up here today. So here's our 15-minute orb for today's session, right? What I do from this given point, if I'm noticing a breakout in either direction, we're going to wait for what's called a 2-candle close. If you guys had seen any of my price action classes, then it just means whatever time frame that you are utilizing, right? You're going to make sure that that candle has its basis to that direction. Okay, so what does that look like? What does that mean? If I am trading on a 1 minute, am I going to be taking this first initial pop candle, or am I going to be waiting for that second candle? Thanks, Andres. There you go. Yeah, we're going to be waiting for that second candle. There are certain ways to play this, okay? So if you're noticing that the market doesn't have confluence, what am I doing for an actual entry of that given point? So a lot of you guys know I'll trade on a 3 minute, and my rule and stipulation for entering into a trade that just broke out and making sure like, hey, I don't want to get caught in a liquidation hunt or a liquidation or a stop hunt, is going to be using that top of that breakout candle and making sure I can grab a close on top of it. So my real entry would actually be right here if I was playing conservative, right? Because there's my close and it is now above that previous breakout candle of that orb. We can see it goes for a retest of that orb. This is where we actually entered. And again, I'm fine with that because it allows room and wiggle room for my given strategy. So you guys have to figure out and tailor a strategy that works to you, because trading is completely subjective. Not one person is going to trade exactly copy and pasted to the next trader, right? Everyone's risk is different. Everyone's psychology is different in trading. Trading is a hard space to be in, so you have to hone in on what works for you. Okay, you guys have heard it, and I use this example all the time. You guys will hear in VC nonstop, me and Euro constantly against each other. Me and Amar, we were against each other this morning, right? You guys just have to figure out what works for you. Hold your bias to your own analysis. If you let someone else's analysis trump yours, then essentially you're not confident in your own play, right? That means you shouldn't be in any play. So really try to figure out what works for you and then really tailor into that. And again, this is what works for me, is figuring out this orb. So how do I identify the levels past this given point, right? So we can grab one of two extensions. The first extension being session orb, right? Meaning what is that 15 minute? So we have our top and bottom that we marked out, and we're going to grab our fib. Okay, I already have these preset. If you guys want to see my presets, I can definitely show you. So what I'm going to do is draw my orb and use that extension upwards, right? So our first PT was that 161 extension. That was that first breakout. So what's our next breakout after that? We have session extension of 100%, meaning it's duplicating the full move of the orb, right? If you guys know what range box duplication is. And then the next thing that you guys can do is grabbing that breakout candle and using that as well. And look where it peaks out as well, right at your golden ratio times 2, right? So you've grabbed 2 golden ratios just using fibs alone, and then it's just going to abide by your actual fibs in conjunction with that, right? So instead of using Andres's method of taking 10% because it's 10%, but also letting the play draw down to negative 80%, you guys could easily just use this for, hey, what are my PTs? But now you're wondering, hey, Ace, what are my SLs, right? So if you guys play the conservative side, right? If I was playing the conservative side, what I would do is if it breaks back in, I am now out of that play, and I'm looking for a re-entry once I get the play. You guys notice I'm super aggressive, so I'm allowing for a retrace into that golden zone, meaning from that 38.2 to that 61.8. I'm expecting, if it does retrace up to that 38.2, if she's super aggressive, 61.8. And these are the levels that I am also grabbing more cons at if the play allows, meaning if there's confluence, if the whole picture is there, right? This pocket right here, this golden zone is where I will be averaging down, especially if we see a retrace into that 50 to 61.8, right? Because that's where, again, if you guys are using a full strategy altogether, where's our peak for today's session? Literally right there, right? Meaning by price by volume is saying, hey, price is going to get stuck here. And if there's enough volume, then we're going to push it. If there's not enough volume, then we're going to see a trough. Where's our next trough? Still up here, right? Where's yesterday's session low? Still right there. And this is where we start back testing, seeing where exactly our pivot points are. So our crucial levers, our supports and resistance, everything that you've learned up to that point, you're going to put onto that chart. You guys will notice that at the bottom, so say if I do get stuck in a play, at the bottom of today's orb would be my last average down. As soon as it breaks, I am cutting. Okay? So that's how I trade the open in terms of this orb and this example. That's exactly what I would do. Is there any questions so far before we continue?
Hey Ace, you said by it breaks. How many candles? One candle, two in the 3 minutes?
Yeah. So again, you're still using your 2 minute or your 2 candle close.
Okay.
Right. And if you want to be conservative, you can cut it off right away at the legs, right? Because again, you might see that same momentum on a breakout to the downside. Like look at this breakout to the upside, right? What happens if you get that to the downside? On a 0 DTE, you're kind of smoked. So again, there's nothing wrong with taking a re-entry. And if you cannot afford a re-entry, this is exactly what I was saying yesterday. If you can't afford a re-entry, it means you're already over leveraged in the first play. Meaning you've already managed your whole account wrong that given day. Trade correctly, right? Follow your trade plan. There's a reason why I start with that every single fucking class. It needs to stick. Any other questions, guys, before we continue? This coffee is slapping. You guys hear me gulp up? Yeah. Yes, I can do that right now. So all I'm using, guys, is just a fib retracement, but I've built in the extension to it because I don't like swing high to swing low to swing high. If you guys are using regular fib extensions, if you can have it all in one, I've noticed it's so much easier because again, you can just throw up your template and then just adjust it as needed. So this is mine for a retrace. Everyone screenshot, take it in. This is also going to be recorded. So if you guys didn't get the screenshot, then you guys are still good to go. Okay. And then coordinates, that's just normal visibility, all the same. So it's just the style that really matters. Also, make sure I like to have all my percentages on the right, just like how price is. So you guys might want that too. And then also make sure that you guys are saving it as a template, right? Because you don't want to forget to set it and then you start a new one for your extension. It's like, fuck, I didn't make my template for the retrace. So here's the extension. Yeah, so there's 2 built into one. So we have one for a retracement and we have one for an extension, right? The less that we have to do, the better. I can show you guys what a regular extension looks like, and to be honest, it's fucking annoying because you have to swing low to swing high to swing low to develop it. Whereas you could just have it built in and just copy that move that you have your bias in. People play fibs differently. This is going to be our next point. Okay. People play fibs differently. If you YouTube fibs, you're going to notice that people do it differently and they draw them differently. I play it based on how I'm trying to retrace. So for me, there is fibs for an upside and there's fibs for a downside. A lot of people, yeah. Oh, okay. Let me. Is this going to be recorded and posted? Yes. Can you show your fib settings? Yes. I just did that. You guys want more? Did you guys need more time? So here's the fib retracement. Again, it's going to be recorded. If you guys have a screenshot, just post it in for them.
Oh, well, shit.
There you guys go. No, that question was mad long ago. Okay, cool. Yeah. What was I gonna say? I lost my train of thought, Andres. Look what you did.
Hey, don't blame me.
Oh.
Blame people in chat, bro.
It was that people draw them differently, right? They're fibs. So just like your supports and resistances, if it means something to you, don't let someone else just be like, hey, that's fucking drawn absolutely special, right? Unless it actually is. Like, we were making fun of someone yesterday just because their trend lines were just literally in the sky. So everything has to make sense, right? But again, constantly keep learning. Understand that you are not the best trader out there and you're not the most knowledgeable, right? Always be a student in life, period. So constantly keep understanding that there are certain ways to do things and just keeping your mind open to all of those new strategies. I've told my students a lot of times, I've paid for masterminds and mentorships and courses nonstop, even when I was already doing courses myself, right? The reason why is because if I can learn even just the tiniest little thing in each course, then I've bettered myself, period. A lot of it might be redundant or it might be a refresher. Regardless, I'm still gaining from learning something new, right? Or learning the exact same thing. It's like reading a book twice just because you liked it that much, or watching a movie twice because you liked it that much. It just instills and ingrains it inside your brain even more. Next thing you know, you've memorized it, right? It's like a song where you constantly keep listening to it and now you understand, or you guys can rehearse the lyrics by memory. Imagine when you're doing that with trading, where you're constantly hearing the same thing over and over and over, and you're just drilling it into your head. What do you think is going to happen when you start trading? Everything is just going to be applied subconsciously now, right? You don't even have to think. And that's the point where you have to get your psychology now. So a lot of you guys were wondering during the psychology class, or like, hey, Ace, can we talk about psychology? Because I'm just not grasping it. It's just all going to be experience at the end of the day, right? The more skin you have inside the game, the more that you can actually put yourself into the market and put all your energy into the market, the more that's just going to make sense, especially when you are consistent and you are disciplined. Because if you're not following your rules and you're just breaking them left, right, and center, guess what? There's nothing that's going to stick because you've just deviated away from those lyrics, right? Quote unquote. You've deviated away from the lyrics and changed them up 1,000 times. So how are you going to memorize something that you just keep changing, right? And you keep altering over and over and over and over. However, there are things like remixes, right? Where you might need to develop a new strategy based on the new market structures, right? So again, you can constantly keep learning and adapting your strategy. But if you're constantly changing it every 2 seconds because you're deviating away from your plan, you're fucking up the whole system for yourself. There's a reason why most people fail in this space. And it's because I know a lot of you guys, if not every single one of you guys, can relay with exactly what I'm saying, right? You've broken your plan, or you don't even have a fucking plan to begin with. Meaning what? You're gambling. You actually don't have anything in writing saying, I must abide by these given fucking rules. When you start a new job, you have a job description for a reason. Imagine if you got hired as an accountant and someone's like, go clean the fucking toilets. Does that make sense? No, right? So same thing with trading. If you have a plan and you have a job description for your trading, then you can't deviate away from it. Does this make sense? Or am I spitting out of my asshole right now?
Spitting facts, son.
Spitting facts.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna trade. Yeah, facts.
Are you winning at least?
Yeah.
Bro, Mr. Miyagi made the kid wax cars, and look where that got him. Exactly. That's big facts. So let's continue. Once we have that 15-minute orb, guys, say if we do have an extension like yesterday's session, how do we trade that? Okay. Where she continues to push before we see the actual flush. So we're gonna go on our 15-minute. We're gonna go on yesterday's session, which is right here. And how do we know what our move is? So how do we apply what we just learned from today's session and back test it now? Right? How did Ace play yesterday's play? So if I were to use my extension, where does she peak out? Right? Is exactly where I would have my TP, right at my 161.8, right? My golden ratio, if you know what fibs are, and then it flushes from that given point. So I know, and you guys saw, my last average down, I took a third average down. That is insanely rare for me. You guys know I would rather cut that play than take another average down and then look for a re-entry for a flip side. I took a third entry right here.
Yeah, you had me worried. I'm not gonna lie. I've been with you a long time. Like,
Right. Exactly. Right. So a lot of people know, especially if you've been trading with me for a long time, a third average into a play is insanely rare for me. It almost never happens. However, why did I have so much conviction? And how does this play pan out based on orbs? Right. So there's a lot of reasonings as to why I exited. So if we're looking at the economics, that had a huge factor to play into it, right? Me and Amar were actually chatting. Me, Amar, Euro, and David were chatting well before market open, and we were kind of determining exactly what was going to happen, especially with the news dropping before the market even opened. And we're kind of doing our pre-market analysis, just us. And to us, it makes sense that, hey, we should be actually going to the downside, right? So with this push, how did me and Amar both have enough conviction to stay into that play, even when from initial entry, it was probably down 80%? Again, initial entry doesn't really mean shit to me, guys, right? The reason why is because everything is in ranges. I allow myself with my given strategy to be able to put in more money into a play. You guys saw, even with a sack, the exact same thing. With a sack, I allowed myself enough wiggle room to average down, even with an aggressive percentage of portfolio on the sack. But you don't see me putting in 50% off the rip, 60% off the rip, 7% off the rip, right? It has to make sense, again, with your given strategy and what you know you can handle, right? So as your account begins to grow, like I said, as accounts grow, you have diminishing returns. You're not going to see the same returns percentage-wise that you do on this $1,000 account on my 250K account, right? It just doesn't make sense. You think I'm going to grow 60% of my account in 3 days on a $250 account or 250K account? No, right? It's not going to happen. There's not enough liquidity, number one, for me to be grabbing 10,000 cons at one given point and selling it all at the same limit price. Everything has to work together. Okay. So continue on this before I go on another tangent.
Oh yeah, I was gonna.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you. What's usually like your average on like your stop loss?
I play to the chart. So for me,
based on levels, pretty much.
Pardon?
Based on levels, pretty much.
Exactly. So it's all based on levels. Does the play still look valid? Yes or no? Does the R to R still make sense? Yes or no? Right? Those are the things I'm looking for. So if my risk is increasing significantly and my reward is dropping, I don't want to be in that play anymore because there's not enough upside for me to keep eating up a loss. Vice versa, if my risk has now decreased, such as taking an average down up here, I know that my risk isn't any higher because if it were to go any higher, I would cut, right? However, my reward is exponential because now I have more capital in the play, number one. Number two, I now lowered my cost basis for an exponential move down, right? So again, it all comes with experience. It all comes with the knowledge to understanding what you can do with your skills and abilities. don't try to copy and paste someone else's strategy, because you have to figure out what works for you. Just because someone else is successful in what they do, it does not mean by any means that you can copy it. Okay.
Yeah.
So based off of that, here's our 50-minute orb. Here's my last average down at that 161.8. We have a massive move up. How do we calculate now where our PTs are? All of that kind of jazz. So you can easily just grab session high to session low, which would be that market open. And that's where we took profits, right? We're right inside that golden zone. So as soon as we had that huge drop to basically match out this right here, so that I marked off as a session break, which would also mean today's, if you guys are looking at it from like a support and resistance kind of view, that would be the given support that I'm looking to break, right? The current pivot for today's session that I'm looking to break. And how does that really make sense? If you were to drop it down to like a lower time frame, that was actually, that given point was the POC for that given time. So if I were to go to technicals, profiles, fixed range, and drop it up until that point, from right here to right there, right? So we have POC at the top, and then right here, right inside our golden pocket, 50 to 61.8. So going into this play, did you have a bearish bias? I did have a bearish bias. So that was based off of economics and how the market was setting up in totality with sector analysis. Right. So how did I know to play SPY versus Qs? That's also another thing, right? That we went through yesterday. Can you do the 50-minute orb setup for the back test? I want to see the setup flow so I averaged out 4 times.
Hey, Ace.
Yo.
For the third time average down, you said the levels, and how about the chart pattern? Does that give you, how much of a in terms of percentage? Because I noticed on the 15 minutes, that's a evening star.
Yes, so that's huge for me as well, right? So if you guys are looking at your candles, right, your candle patterns, this is what he's referring to right here, which is a nice bearish candle. If you guys saw a Mars class that he did for us, he talked about candle patterns as well. If you guys don't know candle patterns, you can actually cheat it on TradingView. Okay, so here's indicators, here's patterns. How do I do this? All patterns. And then you guys can click away which ones you guys want and which ones you don't want, right? So that one's for actual patterns. And then there's one for candlesticks too. Yeah, right at the bottom here. All candlestick patterns. So if you had it memorized it, right? Say if I clicked on all of these, it would mark out which one is which. Or if there's certain ones you like, right? Such as like a morning star, or you guys can read them all. I'm not gonna fucking. And you guys can see right there, right? Like it'll mark it off, and you guys can hover over it and see like, hey, this is a bearish engulfing candle. Hover over this. Hey, this is a long lower shadow. So on and so forth, right? Otherwise, what I did before that even developed on TradingView, I actually had the cheat sheet right beside my desk. And because I keep seeing it day in and day out, and I'm constantly reading it day in and day out, guess what? You begin to memorize it, right? You guys know exactly. I can look at a candle. I don't know the fucking names, but I know, hey, this is a bearish candle. Hey, this is a bullish candle. Hey, this is a neutral candle. So on and so forth. How are you trimming after averaging down 3 times? Are you taking out your averages at break even, or what is your strategy there? So again, playing to the chart and depending on everyone's risk level. Personally, for myself, I was fortunate enough to secure a lot of it in the profit, those average down. So I was already out the gate significantly better than my initial entry, because I was able to take a lump sum of average downs and take it into profits, right? And that's the conservative point of view. As soon as you're getting close to break even, then making sure that you can manage out the play from there. Or you can, again, play to the chart. If there is enough volume to that downside for continuation, right? So reading seller's exhaustion or buyer's exhaustion, and then playing to the chart where we're seeing 3 black crows, and then a bearish engulfing, so on and so forth, right? Do you still have that candle cheat sheet? Literally go on Google and it's like the first things that you'll see. There's so many of them. Change. Let me share my whole screen. Screen number 1. And literally it's all of these. Like they're all going to say the same thing, whether if it be a 1 candle or a 3 candle. Yeah. So there's many setups that you guys can do. There's 2 candle setups, 3 candle setups, or a single candle setup. As soon as you start getting into, sorry, I have this. Oh, bless me. As soon as you start getting into like the consecutive candles, right, then you might want to move up some time frames. The bigger the time frame, the more substance it's actually going to have, the more meaning it's going to have, right? So you guys want to watch out for that too. That's why I'm saying on a 15-minute, we look bearish as shit, right? So now we get to play our retrace up into that given point, like I was saying. So again, likewise fibs, what I do is, sometimes I won't even do that. I'll do that. Opposite. Yeah. You guys might see something like this, right? So again, I'll swing low, meaning my 0 is at the top. My extension is going to swing down for any bearish news, meaning my 100 is at the bottom, my 0 is at the top, right? And that is for anything bearish. Anything bullish is going to swing upwards, right? So my 0 at the bottom and my 100 at the top. That's reversed. Sorry, my brain just farted there. If it's bearish, then 100's at the top, 0's at the bottom, and vice versa. Right? So why is that? Do we do the fibs class right now, guys?
Do it.
Okay. Why is it like that? Why do I do it like that? This will be like the quickest little rundown on fibs. I don't want to get into the huge technicalities, especially if we do a class in the future on fibs. But the reason why I do it like that, think about what a retrace even means, right? If I keep the same retrace like this, like everyone, where they keep their 100 at the top at all times, doesn't make sense for a bearish move, right? So if I'm here at the top and I'm going, what the fuck am I saying? Sorry, my brain needs to work right now. So if I am now bearish, right? What did Stockshop? Oh, Stockshopman posted it. If I am now bearish from this peak to this bottom and I need to move through it, does it make sense that I retrace 78.6% of that given move? Or does it make sense if I've now retraced 23.6% from that top? I know a lot of people are confused because I was confused.
No, I get you. I get what you're doing.
You get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I get what you're
So based on percentages alone, right, we want to make sure that we're corresponding to what the move actually is. So you'll see a lot of people just throw on a fib just because. However, just like anything that you guys use or whatever I say, right, like indicators, understand what's built into it, right? How do I actually use the function of this and why is it even a thing, such as EMAs, right? What is the difference between EMAs and a regular MA? Understand the difference, right? Anything that you do, understand what the fuck you're doing. Otherwise, you're just going in blindly. Say if fibs no longer exist on TradingView for whatever fucking reason, it's never going to happen, but just take it as is. And you're wondering, how the hell can I apply this? For myself, next thing you know, like it's like, hey, I understand that fibs is made out of these percentages. I understand that fibs is a sequence that wasn't even a part of trading, right? It was psychological, so on and so forth, right? Is everyone still grasping, or am I losing people now from my brain fart?
I'm still rocking with you.
You still rocking with me?
I'm still
Dope.
rocking with you.
Brain farts. So, how did we know what our full extension move was from that peak to yesterday's bottom? Again, using our fibs extensions, how do we grab our PTs? Bang. Right? So now we have from top to bottom range, and we're wondering exactly where are our PTs below session open. So that was our current swing low, right? Goes into our golden zone. We start to see our golden pocket, golden zone, golden pocket. We see a nice base. She actually drops a little bit less than that and then begins to push from there. Again, you're going to see the biggest push at your golden ratio, right? But that's exactly how I would take my profits. You guys can even change some of these colors to get a golden pocket. So from your 150 to 160, 1.8, and look exactly where your peak is lying at that given point. So if you're using volume by price, right, your VPVR, and we draw our rectangle, look at that peak. It is sitting perfectly at your 150 to 161.8. Absolutely perfect. Where's that bulk of the volume for that session? At that extension. Where should I be taking profits? At that fucking extension. Yeah. Is there any questions, guys? That is orbs
Mind
in a
blown.
nutshell. This is how I trade the open.
I love
Yes.
it. I love you.
All right, now do a step-by-step walkthrough on how to set everything up.
Cool.
Okay, hold on. I just still play step by step.
All right, step-by-step.
Step by step.
Step-by-step. Step-by-step.
Yeah,
Okay,
I like-
so let's play. Let's pretend we were in queues today.
a live trade.
Okay, let's pretend we were in queues. It's today's session. How can we actually play this out and make profit? Here's, pardon? Yeah, but now I've already seen it. Fine. Okay, so where's my functions? Where's my functions?
Right below the time. Hit play. Right below the 8 o'clock, 8:30, 8:15. Below the volume, yeah. Below your volume. On the bottom of your screen.
Oh fuck, I'm blind.
Damn, bro.
I'm fucking blind. Shut up. Goddamn puppy. Okay. So here we have our 15-minute that has now developed now, right?
Mhm.
We're gonna mark out our candle and go back to our regular day trading time frame. Okay, so we have our orb 15 upper, we have our orb 15 lower, and now we're gonna go draw down into our trading time frame. So for myself, I like to use the 1 and the 3 and use a breakout on those given levels or certain time frame. So here's our level. We're still playing in range. What is the first thing that we're noticing here? Anyone that understands anything PA? Let's make this interactive, guys. What do you guys see?
We're basing.
We're basing. What else?
Buyer
What do we
wicks,
see at that
wicks.
base? Exactly. We're seeing a fuck ton of buyer wicks, right? Where is our current consensus at this given point? Or hypothetical? Yes, exactly. So we're already holding a bias to the upside for session open for this given time. It doesn't mean for the whole session, but it means for what play I'm trying to grab, I'm going to be looking for the upside. You can be aggressive, buy right here now that you have your range and you're seeing all these wicks. You can literally eat it up. If you guys use a higher time frame, then you guys have probably heard the term 3 times the charm. Third touch, you're expecting a nice move, right? Again, depending on the time frame, higher the time frame, the more substance it's actually going to have. Here's our 6-minute. We get our first touch. 1, 2, 3. Right? That third one's not even touching, so you can even count that. So aggressive entry right here. If it breaks that, Anything underneath, I'm cutting. Okay. Again, that's an aggressive with a good R to R. And you have to be willing to eat the loss. If you can't eat a loss, do not enter into that fucking play until you have real confirmation. That is for people who understand, hey, I can eat a loss and re-enter. Okay. It's probably not for you, beginner trader, trying to listen in and say, I can maximize my profits by 10x in one day because I've seen Ace do it once on a sack. So here's our 3-minute. We're seeing it develop. And now we have our bias. So I'm actually going already to swing up. But not only that, I'm actually going to inverse myself and swing down. And this is just me with a whole bunch of levels that are super unnecessary. But it's just what I do. Okay.
What am I looking at now?
You're looking at a mess. So I'll explain it in 2 seconds.
I can see completely, perfectly. I love fibs.
I'm just trying to make sense of myself. Give me 2 seconds.
Like pivot on these nuts.
Okay. So here we are. We have a fib drawn, right? Inside for a nice retrace. So where are we actually basing? That's just a lot of noise, to be honest. I'll remove that. What you could do is what David personally does is he'll put out a 50% mark. So what is 50% of this given move and only mark that? And again, you guys can create different templates for your fibs to see that in particular. Okay. But this is our current swing up and this is our current swing down. We're going to let the play develop a little bit more and wait for an entry again. So there is our initial candle. Okay, we get a nice breakout. Again, we saw, what did we see? Touch 1, touch 2, touch 3, doji. Not you, dog. This guy looks at me like you called me. So here's our retest, or here's our breakout candle. Are we entering in the breakout candle? Off of everything you guys learned today.
No.
Exactly. We are going to look for either a retest or a 2-candle close or momentum shift. Are we seeing a shift of momentum based off of a 1 minute? Yes, because we're seeing volume beginning to accumulate. It is not dissipating. Okay? We are not seeing any sort of exhaustion. So something else that you guys can notice is look at the open. We're seeing volume begin to accumulate. However, we are not seeing any breakout and we're actually noticing buyers eat it up. Same thing here. Accumulation. Same thing here. Dissipation. Right? So again, looking at higher time frames, you guys have to understand exactly which ones mean what and how to actually use volume to understand exactly what is happening. Okay, we can go through that in a further class, how I actually read volume and correspond it to price action itself. But based off of this, we're looking at our 3-minute and we're waiting for that given close. There's our close. I've just paused it. We see it test back into range. I'm okay to enter because on a 1 minute, I get my close above. This is me being aggressive. Is there a real entry yet? No. Right? Because it still has not closed above that given breakout point for a real confirmation play. Again, using a 2-candle close strategy that I've been using fucking forever.
Ooh, the entry.
Stop. I'm slow as shit. So, based off of this, was there an entry at all?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, go back. Look at the levels.
There was an entry.
So it
Lights
gets finicky, right? Because you guys notice it broke up by a few cents, but you still have a seller wick. These are all things to kind of take into play, especially when your orb is right there. In technicality, your real breakout candle is this right here.
Well, I mentioned it even this morning. You're like, there's a breakout. I said, is it?
Exactly.
And then you're like, well, the candle has to close. It ended up being a breakout, but
I mean, it was like
was it?
it could have been.
I was just
But-
salty because I was on puts. Okay, whatever.
It was. I saw it as a liquidity possible retracement into a breakout.
Yep. And again, look at where it retraces back into your golden zone, right? Before a nice move upwards
And a pivot.
and a pivot.
I
If you
love
guys
it.
had your pivots marked out. Okay, so where do we take our PTs from this given point? Again, looking at my extensions, I want to take inside that golden pocket. 150, 161. Where are we noticing it finicking around? Right inside there. As soon as she breaks out of that 161, I would take profits again. That's just me. I have a lot of cons to play with to be able to trim. And then you just let the play develop. You guys actually notice we get a full extension of today's move where we actually took profits again. And that's where she had that 100% move. And then she begins to flush from there. But in terms of playing the breakout, that's exactly how we would pan it out. If you did enter off of a fake out, you guys can do one of two things that I mentioned today. You guys can, number one, cut out the position altogether once it breaks in range. And as soon as you get a real breakout, re-enter. Or you guys can see and play to the chart exactly where do you need to cut. What is the biggest retracement zone of any given play? If you guys remember. Using fibs. Please, someone.
382.
There you go. Your biggest retracement zone for fibs is going to be your 382. Okay, as soon as she's touching into that golden zone, like I said, I am hitting my first average down because my initial entry into any given play is minuscule compared to the size of my capital. Meaning I am barely entering into my play with a large sum of my account because that is the way that I'm managing this play. It's how I do my money and risk management, right? I allow myself room to average down, not maximize my profits by putting in 1,000% of my port, right? And then if it has any draw side, then I'm fucked. Cough, cough, almost all of you. Right? So at this given point, I'm hitting my average down, or I'm looking for my breakout and I'm entering at that given point. There's many ways to actually pan this out, but this is how we did it today based off of SPY. So SPY's was a little bit different, but very similar. And you guys saw how we panned that out for today's session. Right? So here's today's session. Very similar to the Qs. We did get a lot better of an orb structure here. Right? So here is, again, 15-minute. There you go. Here's our 15. Once again, mark your upper and your lower. Upper, lower. Right? I understand where my fibs are. I'm going to extend based off of bias. And why do I have bias? Because again, on shorter time frames, we are noticing a lot of strength, but not only that, we are using the confluence from Qs and any sectors in correlation to understand that, hey, this looks a lot more bullish. We get our first breakout candle. Are we entering here once again? Sorry, I'll go on our real time frame for entry. There you go. Are we entering here on this breakout candle? Someone, please.
No.
No. The reason why you don't have your 2 candle close and it is the first candle and it's a huge breakout, right? We've already seen close to 161.8 of our move. Do I want that play? No, I do not. I'm waiting for a nice retracement. Where does she retrace up to? And does she break through that breakout point for continuation to the upside to hold our bias? No. She does not break past that given wick that she developed, right? She tests it, closes inside, and then retest our 50-minute orb to an actual breakout. Our entry, once again, is right here. We were in before that play, so it's fine. We got literally inside of here, so we were close to the bottom anyway. Again, because if she were to see downside, this would be my retrace. Anything lower than that, I'm cutting position, or my last average down, depending on how risky I'm being for that day, would be our low of day. So any new low of day would be a full cut. Where's our extensions from that given point? Our PTs now get moved up a little bit, so you can actually take it from that previous high. And now we've peaked out. Here's our 161. Here's our golden pocket. We can take at there, or we can be a lot more conservative, which is the undressed trim and taking at like that 127.2.
Bro,
So, all right. So
I don't trim
hypothetically,
there no more, bro.
let's say you have 50 cons, right?
Yep.
How much or how many cons are you trimming at your first PT?
My first PT, I'm always most or at least half out, right? The reason why is because your play panned out exactly how you wanted it to. You may not get the full reward in terms of what you're looking for, right? For a full extension, right? So my full extension would be my 200. I might not be getting the full reward. However, I know this is a crucial point for me. That play developed for me perfectly in terms of my R to R. So most out at this given point, and then I'm slupping it, meaning I'm moving that SL up either into break even, or you guys have seen I've moved it into profits a lot of the times, or right below. Say if we did enter at this point, right? I want to make sure that if it does go back to retest that given point, I'm not going to get stopped out. So that's when you can move SL just below that given level, and no matter what, you are net green. Meaning, even if the rest of those cons go slip into a little red, doesn't matter because you've secured more profits than you are going to eat from that little loss. Right? So that given point for me would be right here. Right? So this is where I'd let it slip into, say if I was still in the play. Anything less than that, that's a cut. Any questions? You guys were interactive today. I liked it. I almost came mid-class. I was also stroking at the same time. That's why I don't have my camera on today.
Say that while you can, buddy.
How long will it take for you to upload this video so I can grab the fib retracement setting?
I'll post it. I'll try to post it today. For sure this weekend. And I still have to post to Mars too.
Well, you have to post it because you're gonna be on vacation, bro.
Mm-hmm.
When are you taking vacation?
Next Friday, bro.
Next
We're on our
Friday.
own.
Oh,
We're
is
on
it-
our own.
Next Friday, I won't be trading for 1 week. And then we have 1 more week together before we make the full transition over to Stock Dads.
So how's that gonna happen? Like, our accounts gonna merge some shit or what?
Everyone's but yours, Andres. You're gonna stay here in Concord forever.
Damn.
Yeah, because you
Don't
can't
worry,
ever
Andres.
leave Heroes.
Don't worry, Andres. This Concord will not be Mexican Concord.
It's Mexican mines instead of Concord mines.
Wait, throw up that fib retracement setting one more time. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
real fast.
You're good. Any questions, guys? Ask away. Oh, that's my brush.
A lot
drawing
of questions in trading chat, by the way, for the merger.
Okay, I'll check it.
Yeah, the merger.
Oh, for the merger.
Oh, one.
During all of this, are you looking at QQQ? And if you are, or how do you use it for Confluence SPY? I mean, I feel like everything is falling into place. Can you pull up your VPVR settings? Yep. So I'll do that after these fib retracements.
618.
And again, you guys can keep it super clean, right? Where you guys don't have to have like the 1.272, and you guys can literally just have that golden pocket, especially if you don't like early trims, right? And you guys can literally just have like 150 to 178, or just 150 to 161.
Can you scroll down?
What do you do when QQQ and SPY are going opposite directions? Sector analysis, right? And I'm noticing which one has more strength. So does tech in general have more strength, or is some SPY sectors holding it in a certain way? Meaning, am I looking at telecommunications? Am I looking at health? Am I looking at oils, gas, right? So everything that's built into each, you're kind of honing in and you're kind of looking at and trying to make sense of it all.
What the fuck was that?
I became a beatboxer, bro. I'm a little stuttering queen.
What was that?
Is this the extension one or is this the?
Yeah, so that's extension because you see 1.5s, and then here is retrace.
Is
Hello.
in the hero pinned messages on the recorded class.
Yep.
There are crates, fib extension, and there are yours. So
Yep.
correct me if I'm wrong. So I watched the both. Is it okay to say that your fib extension level are a little bit more aggressive in terms of PT compared to Chris?
I don't remember Kreese. I'm gonna be honest. He was just an educator here.
Yeah, he's drawing the extension based on most of time the retracement. So he's 0% will be on the retracement.
Right.
Yeah. So yours are more simple.
Simple's
You-
better, man.
you-
I don't know
you
what to
scroll
say.
down, Ace.
There's a reason why he's not here today. I'm just joking. If anyone is friends with Kree. No, like again, like I said, everyone's gonna take their fibs differently, right? The way that you use them is simply based on how you use them. So if you find more value in the way that I do it, then do it the way I do it. If you see the value of way that Kree does it, then follow him, right? Because again, at the end of the day, no one is putting food on your plate other than you. So if you can make the most money using Kree's strategy, I recommend you use Kree's, right? Help yourself out at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, Ace, I have a question.
Got it.
Yeah.
It might be a joke. Since you're joining Stock Dads, you looking to adopt?
Am I looking to adopt?
Yeah, since you're joining Stock Dads.
I've already adopted a furry dog and 2 furry cats.
And shaman.
How do you get your fib level based on log scale to be checked? I can't check mine for shit.
What do you mean you can't check yours?
Like that box, it won't let me check it. That fib level based
This
on
right
log
here?
scale? Yeah, it won't. It no
It won't
let
do it
me.
for you?
No.
Hold on, let me see. I mean, what's your level?
Someone help him out.
Help
What
me.
are you paying for trade of it? I mean, trading
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
You know, there's a new one.
What?
They added in another package.
What is
Trading
how
View.
many- Do you get like 10 freaking?
Look at this shit. There's 16 now.
Damn, bro.
You know
Damn,
what?
Mark's still there.
I can't click
No,
it either.
that's crazy.
I can't click that fib
Yeah,
level based
the
on
fib
one.
level based on log scale. That's interesting.
Yeah, I can't either.
Okay,
Oh,
doesn't matter.
okay.
Yeah, I
Alright,
can't
I got
either.
it. Thanks.
And then someone else wanted VPVR, so let me set that up for them. Oh, that's VWAP. There you go. 50 and 70. Ultimate is like $4.99 a year. BR. I paid that because I forgot to buy my trading view on the sell days, like on the sale days. I usually set them up for like 3 years, and I went through all of them, not realizing. And then I checked, like I got a credit card statement, and all I see is like paid like $600. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I'm like, oh, I'm a freaking dunce.
Ace, go to your style tab on VRPV. So you gray everything. Naughty boy.
Royal. Royal has the world. His extends upwards.
I got it. Appreciate you.
I got you. Any other questions, guys?
I'm about to be out here trading like ace, bro. Good God.
I'm telling you, trading the open is super fucking easy once you get used to it. But I mean, that's kind of like anything, right? If someone gets used to, like, say, if they work during the day and they can only trade power hour, guarantee you they can be successful at that. Like, I know Jason, Paper Profits, he specifically loves trading power hour in comparison to session open. Again, got to do what works for you and what aligns with what you can actually do.
Duke only trades the last like 3 minutes of the day.
Exactly. He literally calls out freaking snipes and then goes to play with planes again.
He just alerted some spy calls.
Did he?
Hey, Ace, you want to know
Day
something
trade.
crazy?
What's up?
Ever since I joined your Discord, I have a lot of free time. I don't know what to do with it.
You have what? Free chat?
Free time.
Oh, you have a lot of free time. What do you mean, man? Jack off, make another kid.
Nah, that's too much, bro.
Too much money? Yeah, but you're making more money now, so it's fine.
No, it's not fun. I have to private
He's
school.
not Mexican.
Oh, your kids in private school?
Yeah.
DJ, are your kids in private school?
Yes, sir.
God damn, y'all rich, man. My kid going to the most public ghetto school, built character, man. They get beat up.
I can't. I'm a little too conservative for public schools nowadays. So,
Dude, I would not want to put my kid in public school in Chicago, bro. Yeah, fuck.
How did you make it so you can check off fib levels based on log scale? I have no clue, but I can't even unclick it, so I don't think it matters. So yeah, that's class. Hope you guys enjoyed. Super simple. And that was perfectly on the hour, so I appreciate you guys.
I appreciate you.
Now let's just kick it. I can't wait to stroke all you guys this weekend. What the fuck?
Hey, you fly me out to Tulum, right?
They
I'm
appreciate
fine.
you, but I love you.
Oh my god. Let's see if there's any questions inside class Q&A. I gave it some thought after last night's class, particularly in context to the SAC. One aspect that stood out was the way that you meticulously allocate percentages to different trades based on the account size. However, a crucial consideration is the possibility of missing trades, not just the impact of losing trades. For instance, when I buy one SPY call option at $1, it represents 10% of your $1,000 account. But what happens if you miss a few potential trades and your account balance drops to 500, and now any trade you may suggest is going to be a much higher risk? At the end of the day, the SAC is just trade ideas. I'm not in this for you guys specifically to make money based off of a SAC. If you guys do like the trade ideas and decide based on your own discretion to take the trade and you guys are making money, then I'm still happy. If you guys don't and you guys are learning based off of a SAC, I am still happy. If you guys are losing money because you guys are chasing a SAC, that's your own fault and I am still happy.
Basically, at the end of the day, fuck off.
No, basically at the end of the day, try to gain as much value out of it as possible, right? Whether if it's learning exactly how I do it step by step, why I took any cons that I did, why I took each play and trying to understand exactly the technicalities of it, then you're gaining, period. If you are gaining monetary value, incredible. If you are losing money based off of deviating away from your plan, that's on your own discretion. And again, I never feel bad based on someone else's faults, right? Learn from it. How you grow as a person.
Yeah, if you make a mistake, that's on you.
Yeah. But if you guys do take anything good, that's on me. Don't ever take credit on that. It's a win-win for me, motherfuckers.
And always take every mistake as a lesson. If you
Yeah,
can't learn,
exactly.
you always learn from your mistakes.
Right. And there's a reason why last class I said you have to have skin in the game to actually feel that psychological aspect of the market. If you guys are using paper trading accounts with $1 million values where it's not even realistic, close to your actual account, it's never going to work.
Nope. Real money makes a big difference.
Yeah, man. Money talks. That's why whenever these, like I said, whenever these people are flexing, I just made 1,000%. Show me your fucking P&L, bitch.
That's another thing is like if you can't learn from your mistakes, you're doing something wrong.
Like, first of all, it's hard to hold 1,000%.
It is. And to be honest, most people will not. You guys seen the only 1,000%